Welcome to Nothing is OB South Texas Golf Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Andy Torres. Now, tonight's banger, I have episode 128. I have the University of Incarnate located here in San Antonio, Texas. Men's golf head coach Thomas Kearney will be on the show. He's going to tell us just some of his goals, some of his hopes, and his coaching style, and some of his best stories as being a coach here in San Antonio and making his way from Ireland here to beautiful SA. But before we kick things off here, let's go ahead and pay some bills right here. All right. I'd like to thank my presenting sponsor, FOREBROS Tour. Never golf alone again. If you don't have a home, FOREBROS Tour has a home for you. We're going to be starting our Thirsty Thursdays 9 at Silverhorn Golf Club. It's only going to be $25. That's right, $25 for 9 holes and a cart. You cannot beat that deal at all. Also, I'd like to thank my gold sponsor and board member Brad Ishins with Metal Stacks. Metal Stacks is a precious metals collectors club. You can buy bars of gold, silver, rounds at wholesale prices. There's 3 different ways you can get into Metal Stacks, and Brad can help you out right here. One of the first ones is you can contact Brad, and you can hit him up at 210-274-5894 to learn more. Also, you can visit his website at www.msbrad.com. All right, you can join the club to purchase precious metals at either wholesale or at cost, and you can purchase silver and gold at retail. Make sure you hit my boy up, Brad Ishins. He will not do you wrong. All right, let's go ahead and bring my man, Coach Kearney, on the show. Coach, thank you so much for being on the Nothing is OB podcast tonight, Coach.
Thanks for having me, Andy. This is going to be fun. We'll see where the conversation goes.
Oh man, I'm excited. You know, as soon as I spoke to you the other day and you told me you're an old school runner, I was just like, man, like you got my mouth watering over here. You know, I'm just I started this show just because of guys like you, being at a smaller program, doing some great things, and now you're getting just to the next stage. And so I really wanted to put you out here to give people an idea of what Incarnate men's golf is all about, where you came from, and what type of coach you are. Because I think as a coach, being in the profession, I'm super excited, and I always like to learn from other good coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what we get into and where the conversation flows. So let's get to it.
All right. So hearing your accent here, I know, and like I said, kind of the preview, you told me the other day you're from Ireland. Yep. How did you make your way to San Antonio? Because I know you were part of that, I guess, that influx, or where everything kind of started, to where the recruitment of European golfers making their way, and especially here to Texas.
Yeah. So I was born in London, in England, and we moved to the northwest of Ireland when I was about 5 or 6. And across the generations, we've got family both sides of the channel over there and of the Irish Sea. And we moved to a beautifully remote, super rural part of northwest of Ireland, and quite frankly, there's really nothing to do there other than the golf course that was set up there when we initially moved. They had 18 holes. And then in the mid-90s, they built another 18, and now there's another 9-hole, and it's turned into a pretty fantastic facility. This coming summer, we're hosting the British Am. We've had the Irish Open in the past, so I was very, very fortunate that my parents decided to move there, and it was either that or I decided to jump in the sea and surf, and there was no way I was doing that because the ocean is way too cold. So 5 or 6-year-old and decided, let's figure out this golf thing, and went out there with my parents and my brother, and that was me. That's honestly been me ever since. You can't take me off a golf course now. So developed as I was young, and just kept playing, immediately get out of school and walk down with my clubs along the little roads and go down and play 9 holes and go back home and wait to wake up the next day and do the same thing again, and developed and became relatively good in high school back home, and I was very fortunate enough to become part of the Irish national team, and that gave me a little bit of notoriety, and played well in some junior events back home, and I got recruited to play at UTSA, like you said, and had a great 4 years. Made some great memories and long-lasting friendships. And in terms of my performance there, I was okay. I think that's probably fair to say. I wanted to be better in college, but had some highlights here or there. But I was always going to turn pro, so I graduated and turned pro, and then quite early on in my playing career, I made significant jumps. So the player that I was in college had definitely gone, and I turned into a kind of a man on the golf course and started achieving some pretty cool things for my level, and played some nationwide events, now Corn Ferry events, and then was very fortunate enough as a result of playing well in some mini tour events and such that the tournament committee at the Valero decided to give me a sponsor's invite for the 2010 tournament, and so that was a great experience. And interestingly, and perhaps ironically, though, I think that probably ended my playing career, because I was obviously teed it up, and I saw a different level or two. So I was exposed to some very, very good players, and I missed the cut. And then I saw Adam Scott, I think, shoot 66, 66 on the weekend to completely blow away the golf course. And at that time,
that's what he wanted, right, Coach? I don't mean to cut you off, but I think he was the champion, right, in that 2010.
Correct. And at that time, that was the first year at the new TPC, and at that time, that was a very harsh golf course. So that was a lot of the greens. There was a lot of undulations, and they hadn't softened out the brush areas around the fairway. So it was tough, and I looked at that and thought, oof, I don't think you can do that. So that was probably the beginning of the end of my playing career. It took me maybe another 18 months to really actually make the decision, but came to that decision one day and was very honest with my family, and decided that I'm not going to be a player anymore. And the next day I was effectively an instructor with 0 clients. So it's and figure that one out, and a little scary at the beginning, but I figured it out and accrued quite a good clientele, and recognized that this is fun. Didn't really look at coaching in life, but once I jumped into the deep end, I actually realized that I'm not terrible at this. This is kind of cool. So and definitely with time learned that I had skills that definitely leaned towards the more elite players. So that was fun. And then, kind of fell into college coaching from there. A former mini tour player that I used to play a little bit with was the St. Mary's coach at the time. He was doing both men and women, and the AD and he had a meeting with me and asked if I could go along and join them as an assistant part-time. And I thought, heck, let's do it. I'll have a bunch of case studies every day, was basically how I looked at it. And I thought, great, I'd love to do that. So we worked that out with timing and all of that stuff. So I was basically teaching from 8, 9 a.m. until practice time. And then I'd run out to practice with them and spend a few hours every day and go back and do a few more lessons. And so it was a lot, but it was an incredible education for me in terms of that coaching world. And so I did that for 3 years, and then that coach moved on. He got a job at New Mexico, and I was really attached to the kids after those 3 years as humans, and I cared for them a lot. So I spoke to the AD and said that I'll hold the ship while we find a replacement. And we never did find that replacement. And 8 years went by, and all of this.
Were they still waiting?
Yeah. So that's how that played out. But so it transitioned from I'll hold the ship afloat to interim to you're the guy. So and I'm very, very grateful and fortunate that it did work out that way, because I didn't really work for it. It was given to me on a plate, and I was very lucky with that. And then I started, all these amazing relationships with so many players over the years, and they did some cool things that I was able to watch, a front row seat, and all the way to Final Fours and NCAA regional titles, and a bunch of All-Americans, Palmer Cup nominees. It's been pretty cool. But then life sort of came in the way last season, maybe last springish, and I recognized that two teams was taking a toll on me and me as a father and a husband. And so I made a incredibly challenging decision to part ways. And that was pretty brutal because I was so attached to the whole institution at St. Mary's and all my players over the years. But it was the right call for my family. And like I said, for me as a husband and father, and this position was open. And I don't think I had any idea how amazing this process was going to be. I obviously watched from afar when I was at UTSA and then at St. Mary's, and always knew, there's this program over here in Alamo Heights, but never really caught wind of the ins and outs of it. But since day one, it's honestly blown my mind, and it's caught me way off guard. It's a gold mine here, and nobody knows it. So it's been fun. It's really fun.
Well, and I think that's the thing too. I think as a coach, being in the profession for about going on 19 years, obviously a different level. I think that's how you kind of get the best out of your kids and build that program, right? Is the relationship, right? I'm sure when you were a collegiate golfer, I think times have so much changed, and where back in the day, coaches are like, you have to treat everybody the same. And now it's like, no, every kid kind of thrives in a different way. Some you want to be on the bag. Some want you to give them that read. Some kids just want you to leave them alone. They want to just kind of maybe see you at the corner of the eye, maybe have the assistant walk with them, and I just think it seems like, the golf world, the collegiate golf world was abuzz when you made that switch. And as a father, as a husband, I hear that because coaching it wears you down. And what were what's some of the biggest, I guess, not going to say, I'm not trying to down talk St. Mary's, but as being a men's and women's coach, what has maybe been some of the best transition for you as being just a men's golf coach?
Time, reflection. I have moments where I really like to almost be a stoic and really assess all things and look at data and all of that stuff. And so that I can, when it is decision-making time, I can make the right call. But I was certainly getting to a place where I was just being pulled in too many directions. And it sounds a little sad, but I felt like I was failing in all aspects, failing as a husband, as a father, and then coaching. And that just didn't feel good because I was just letting everyone down. And then it was, that was the moment where I thought, it's time. So it was sad, that phone call that I had with them to tell them that I wasn't returning wasn't very fun. And I would like to never do that again. But you move on, right? They've moved on and they're doing amazing things. And I've got 6 guys right now. I obviously didn't recruit them, but they're my guys. I mean, I just left them a couple of hours ago, and I mean, goodness, they're probably still out of practice at Briggs right now. I mean, we have the ability to turn on the lights on the short game area, so they could be there on their own just practicing. So that's cool. So yeah, it was sad to leave that kind of era go by, but we all move on. And yeah, like I said, this is a new time, and the boys have been making it very fun for me.
Well, Coach, I always think everything happens for a reason, and I'm a true believer. Don't mean to get all holy roly over here, but I think it seems like we kind of have some. There's a lot of parallels, right? I'm the same way. I got 2 young kids, or I say young kids. I got one daughter who's playing softball. My youngest is in 6th grade, and I feel like I'm being pulled. I'm not going to say in that same direction, but you know what? I don't. Yep. I grew up an only child. I don't want to miss anything.
Right.
I want to be there and I want to experience everything. And I've coached my oldest daughter and I've always been coach, but these last few years, I just want to come home and be dad. I don't want to be coach. And I don't tell my daughter anything in regards to her softball swing and sports. And I said, if she wants daddy will be here for her. So I love to hear that. And it seems like, it seems like you made the right choice for you, for you and yours, because it seems like, speaking to you the other day, man, you're like pumped and excited. I mean, I think everybody's excited about practicing at a great facility like Briggs Ranch, Briggs Ranch Country Club out here in San Antonio. And it seems like, on the recruiting trail, I'm looking at some of these guys. I mean, you're putting your stamp on this program.
Yeah, it's so the fall has been eye-opening. In the sense that really trying to, 7-8 years at St. Mary's, I got used to those ways and got good at those ways. I certainly didn't think about this enough before I moved, but everything's new. I had to build all new relationships in every single department and figure out where my allies are, and if I want something done in that department, are they an emailer? Are they a phone caller? Are they a texter? Do I need to walk over to their office? All of these little things that you don't really think about until it happens. And so that's the admin side of it was challenging. Probably the most challenging thing is trying to just learn all of the new people. But in terms of the golf side of it with the guys, I've really allowed them to tell me where the program needs to go. And I know this is probably going into sort of areas that might be against norms in terms of, I'm stereotypically the authority on high, and everybody's below me and all of that stuff. And this conversation is not going to go in that direction. I am not the guy on the top of the pedestal. I am Thomas to the guys. None of them call me coach, and that is for that reason. I want them to make sure that I'm just a collaborator. I can facilitate some environments for them, but that's where it ends. I'm not above them. We're just all here on this learning process together, and it's probably still taking some time to truly get used to that, because I think we're all used to that old school, screaming and all that stuff. And that's just not me. That would feel wrong for me personally to do it that way. And I've been hired here, and I believe I need to do it the best way that I think that I need to do it. And that's a part of it. So the fall was listening to them, watching them and observing them and trying to figure out how best we do this thing. And you mentioned Briggs. Briggs is honestly being a big part of figuring out this landscape with the program. And obviously we're so incredibly fortunate to have the most spectacular facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's insane. And with our dynamic schedules, the guys basically go out whenever they want. So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. So tell me, I guess, being out there at the facility, being, out there at Briggs Ranch now, have they been like super welcoming and super like open with, to you and your guys? Do the girls practice out there as well? Or is that something?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Derek Dixon, the GM, Mike Frost, the head pro. I mean, my goodness, they couldn't have been more welcoming to me. I mean, Mike, whenever we're out there, he absolutely makes a point and runs out to the range or the putting green and just checks in on us all of the time. It is most definitely our home, and they make us feel that way, which, the reality is college programs don't get that love a whole lot. Usually it's, we're the burden on the facility, right? And I get that, because revenue is a big thing, but we don't get that at Briggs. I think they love us out there. We certainly love being out there, and it's been fun developing that relationship with them, all of the outside staff, all of the assistant pros. I mean, my goodness, I feel like I have to pinch myself every day to actually get to that reality that this is how it is, and it's pretty cool.
Well, and I think, as you step up your game, and when I mean step up, to Division I golf, right? Division I golf, and being in the Southland Conference, there has to be, like, I guess, an upgrade in facilities in order to be, right, considered. Like, you have to have a certain to be Division I, right? You have to hit certain points, right? I guess, in order to keep your Division I status, I guess, for your program, right?
Sure. I do want to note, though, that I spent 8 years in Division II. The top Division II programs are absolutely spectacular, and you can throw them in Division I, and they can compete on any given day. But yes, you're right. The reality is that there might be a little bit more money, there might be a little bit more resource here or there, but that's the wonderful dynamic that I've found here is we're still a very small private institution, Division I, but the assets that we have are absolutely massive. I mean,
it's amazing school.
We're in San Antonio. That's enough. But then we're in Alamo Heights, which is a beautiful part just off Broadway, a beautiful part of the city. And then we drive out to Briggs Ranch every day. I mean, you're
going to get people mad out here, Coach. You're going to get people hating on you out here.
Days could be worse. It's certainly fun. I've had a few instances where we've had some recruits and we've taken them around campus, and they've noticed how beautiful it is. They're aware, how great the city is and all of that stuff. But then we take them out to Briggs, and the whole demeanor completely changes, and they recognize what I'm talking about when we get out there, and we're very, very grateful and very fortunate, and that's part of my excitement, right? Because when I think my number one role for these guys is to make sure that the environment is the absolute best for them at any given time. And it's nice to be able to have a facility that's just ready to go on any given day.
Do you think I ask you about that, and we speak about your facilities because I was practicing out at the first tee the other day, and I saw some St. Mary's guys out there. Is that maybe, the difference in being, at Incarnate Ward as opposed to St. Mary's? Where would y'all practice, or were you kind of moving around, or what?
Well, let me say, on Saturday mornings you will see the UIW boys, because we volunteer with the first tee. So let's say that for a start. But no, I mean, at St. Mary's, I think they have some great facilities. So when I was there, we shared the Hyatt. Obviously 27 holes. We had exclusive access to the end of the range and all of that stuff. And then we had some great relationships with the country clubs in town. We went out to Sonterra, we went out to the Dominion, and then we utilized the city courses. So it really doesn't change. But certainly having that ability to show up to one facility every day is nice. And then there's really not a whole lot of traffic out there.
No, not at Briggs.
So it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. And the boys are very grateful too. I want to make that clear that they're not, they do live in the 09 in Alamo Heights, and there can be some perceptions of them, but they're very grateful. They know what they have, and they're very thankful for that. And they're really good kids, and they just want to get better. There's a ton of hunger there, and having that environment at practice is at some point going to show, and so that's cool.
What for those out here watching and listening, maybe if you could take us through, like, what is like maybe like a regular day of practice, and then maybe what's a day like of practice where as you get closer to competition.
Yeah, so we've kind of transitioned those two things right now. So we've had 4 or so weeks of preseason, which is basically Briggs every day, and that's been a moving target, dependent on the boys, on their class schedules, and so something that radical that we've been doing is I've given the guys all of the power, all of the control. So not one day have I dictated practice. So I do not initiate anything, which is, I have a lot of peers and a lot of friends in the industry that are gonna call me tomorrow, but
you're freaking me out. You're freaking me out right now. I'm like, hold on, what?
Many of them know that I do this anyway, but we flip the page, and for so many reasons. But and even you alluded to it a little bit earlier, where just that the coaching landscape has changed, and Gen Z is a spectacularly intelligent generation, and they're skeptical of us. They have grown up in a world where they have access to every answer of everything at any given time within 1/4 of a second. And so basically, who is this guy? Who's this bald guy showing up, just, dictating the show, right? So I've had to be incredibly conscious of not being that guy. So I listen and I let them dictate the show. And this is where, outsider looking in, maybe perhaps can perceive that I don't have control. But I actually have all of the control in the world. It's just they're telling me how we're running it. And it's beautiful. And just this week, we had just recency bias here, but a couple of little stories where one guy was alluding to having some low point issues with some short shots, and I was just listening and I wanted to hear his language and his take and his feels on it, as opposed to me just bombarding him and ramming down his throat my opinions on the technique or skill or whatever. And I heard him out, and there was one of the other guys was right beside him, and I just thought it might be a good idea to bring him in on it. So I just asked him, hey, listen up, and let's kind of collaborate a little bit as a group here and see where we go with it. And it was beautiful. He started articulating some feels, and his teammate made a suggestion or two in terms of what he feels when he executes the shot. And then we went through some shots, and I interjected delicately a few times just to make sure that we were going in the right direction. And then he started hitting some really nice shots, and his teammate was really motivating him and really telling him how great it was doing. And I could see this massive smile in his face, and it was cool. And so we left that day thinking, wow, that was a cool session, right? And I didn't do anything. I just facilitated a couple of things to happen. So, which is, like I said, a little bit radical, a little bit different from what normal practice should look like, right? I'm supposed to come up with a playbook, and you're supposed to do these drills and this and that. And I let the guys tell me what we need to do. Now, don't get me wrong. We look at a bunch of analytics and all of that stuff, and we have a bunch of conversations on all of that. But they're the driver of this ship. It's their games. It's an individual sport. This is not a team sport. There's no everybody do this kind of thing in golf. So and they've really appreciated it, and it's beautiful, the creativity that has come about, because so many opinions and so many different thoughts and different directions have come up that maybe if I was dictating the whole show, I don't know if we would have come to that conclusion.
Now, I guess, is that something that maybe, because I mean, you're freaking me out over here. I'm like this. I was like, well, I'm dealing with like 12, 13, 14-year-olds, right, on the daily basis. And you're dealing with people who are young adults, right? You're dealing with people who are young adults. And a lot of them are, hey, this is not their hometown, right? Mm-hmm. So they're here to do a job as well, right? They're here to do a job. Now, as you've got into this and you've really kind of, you had to earn your trust, I guess. Is there something that was it really important to you? Because I know this is like your money time, right? I know you're going to have your first big tournament next week at the Rattler Open, right, at Dominion. Yep. And you know what? I think this is where you make your money. This is where you make your run. You got conference at the end, and I saw it's in Kerrville. Where is it at? Comanche
Trace, amazing golf course.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Oh, beautiful track, beautiful 9-3, championship nines out there. Yep. And so, what have been some things that you've tried to do in the fall to get you ready to this point where, hey, this is money time?
So one of the big things, and we were actually talking about it a little bit earlier, is actually not even talking about it. We have, or I have, and hopefully they do now, but basically a today mentality. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I can't control tomorrow. I can't like you said, next Monday, Tuesday, we're playing at the Dominion. I don't know what how we're going to play. We can't control that yet, but all I know is we just got back from practice a little while ago. We had constraints and parameters that we had power over today at Briggs, and we can control that environment. So we just focus on today and then check that box, go to sleep, get some recovery, and then see what we can do tomorrow. So we don't talk about outcomes. We don't talk about results. We don't talk about consequences, none of that stuff. If we keep adding up all of this good stuff every single day, every single moment, perhaps at some moment that will, in the future, that will come back to us and it'll start showing in some results and wins or whatever it may be. But thinking about that and talking about it doesn't make anything happen. So we just really dive deep into it, for lack of a better term, the stuff, and just embrace that, really enjoy doing all of that stuff. And then whatever happens out here at some point in the future, great. Now, I'm not saying that's easy. It's really,
yeah,
really,
no. I'm like, you have me like, I'm shaking over here, coach. I'm shaking. Really I'm like, no.
But the more you get into the finite details, the easier it is to get away from. I've got to work on my driving. I've got to work on my face control. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then all of a sudden, this massive, big picture stuff out in the future, not even in your head. You're here in the moment, and you're present. All of those cliches, right?
Well, coach, I say that, and like I said, like when we spoke the other day, coaches like to steal from other good coaches and other, successful whatever sport it is, right? I mean, sports is just, the power of sports is amazing, right? And I think one thing I always try to tell my kids about Kobe Bryant is that a lot of people say that, he had that Mamba mentality. And for him, I looked it up. I was like, his Mamba mentality meant to consistently try to be the best version of yourself.
Love it.
And a lot of people say that about him. I know a different sport, but they said he could be the most present at that exact moment, not worrying about yesterday, not worrying about tomorrow. And I love that take, because I think a lot of times as coaches, if you're nervous, the kids are going to sense, right? They're going to sense you're nervous. If you're excited, the kids are going to be excited. If you feel prepared, well, then the kids, and I say your students, your athletes will feel prepared. You give off like that aura.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that any of this stuff for them, quite honestly, I'm saying it for me too, because I'm coaching me too. Right. Just like I said at the offset, I'm not at the top of a pedestal. I'm at their level. I'm learning all of this stuff too, right? We're collaborating and figuring out all of this together. So they're teaching me just as much as I'm teaching them, perhaps even more sometimes. And that's where that you alluded to, that level of respect. My personal opinion is that's where it comes from. Is you tell them, whether it be with words or your actions, probably more so actions, but it's humans first. Tell them, especially Gen Z. Gen Z loves to be heard, and so it's very important for me to tell them, like, hey, I'm here. I'm listening to you. I hear you. And I think just constant, relentless reminders of that is important to them. And then, if at some point that takes their head to a place of like, I'm going to go to him and ask him something, ask for an opinion or whatever, and then so be it, right? It's as opposed to, absolutely shoving it down their throats. They're not going to listen. They're not going to listen to me.
Man, I'm over here. Like, I'm the one shoving the things, like this is how you do it. But I love to hear that. I love to hear that takes. And because I think as a coach, you always have to try to stay sharp, right? You have to try to, if you're not improving, you're dying, right? And so
adapt or die. Yeah.
And so right here, I wanted to bring up this comment right here. Paul Sharp, his son, I know he's on the booster club for Piper High School. That's, kind of like out there in New Braunfels area. Facilities certainly helps with recruiting. Most high schools now have practice areas. I know they do. There at Piper, they have several hitting bays. They have a short chipping green, putting green. And I'm just like, you have to match up these facilities. And I know several things, at UTSA is struggling with that on the football end, that, hey, these high schools have indoor facilities and UTSA doesn't have an indoor facility. You're trying to compete with the big programs, and these facilities is kind of like how you're able to maybe ring in that one kid who may be on the bubble, right?
I think it's important to define what that facility or what, in maybe my language, what that environment is, though. I obviously I could wax lyrical about Briggs and how unbelievable it is, but it's not about the beauty and all of that stuff, which is no questionably there, but it's more the substance of the environment, right? I mean, honestly, we can go out to a dirt track range and we can set up an environment and we will get a bunch of, small little wins and small little gains from a well-structured session, right? It doesn't have to be this shiny thing, it doesn't have to be Augusta National. It's whatever environment you make of it, right? Shiny things are nice, but that doesn't guarantee success. That doesn't guarantee growth. That doesn't guarantee development. It's having like-minded individuals with some common goals together and putting things in front of you in my instance for practice to where I know we can be challenged or there's a skill that we can improve or whatever. We can do that anywhere. But it's certainly nice sometimes if it's a shiny, pretty
it definitely is. And, right there, Coach, I'm going to kind of take a little break here. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a little break here and give out a shout out because there's a great practice facility out there called On Par Golf out of Mission del Lago. Ray Garza is a good man right here. And I'm going to go ahead and play he's a supporter of the Nothing OB Golf podcast right here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring out his. A special shout out to Ray Garza out there at On Par Golf out of Mission del Lago. He's out at Mission del Lago, also at Northern Hills Golf Course. He's got some great technology, one of the best guys, and he can make my fat butt look great in On Par Golf apparel. It's got a great spring line coming up. And, has that been, as a golf instructor, I guess, is y'all are all kind of, I know you stated to me you don't do a lot of coaching as you did before. Now, what would you say is maybe like something that you're good at and something that's kind of like your go-to, and I know I can maybe help improve that student, or kind of maybe something that like is your bread and butter?
I would like all players to have a good understanding of the difference between skills and technique. And what I mean by that, so skills are the definitive, finite, to give you an example, is so with an iron, being able to hit the ground in the same place every time. It's being able to orient the club face where you'd like to start the ball in a consistent fashion. It's being able to generate X amount of speed to go a certain distance, right? Those are, you can't argue those. Those are, truths of the game that at any level, if you get better at those, you are a better player, right? And then you move into the technique portion of it. It's a little bit more stylistic. And this is where earlier I may have received some phone calls from my coaching peers. This is going to get some calls from my instructional peers, but instruction style. I think a lot of the instruction industry goes down way too deep into the minutia and goes down rabbit holes that I think the merit starts fading more and more and more as you get deeper and deeper and deeper, when there's basic truths that in the game of golf that I've found are achievable. So for my guys, obviously they pound it off the tee. So some of these numbers might be a little inaccurate for the recreational golfer. But if my guys can hit it 300 plus within a 60-yard window, then they will hear nothing from me about technique. If my guys can hit their approach, their irons within a 5% dispersion of their intended target, I will say nothing about their technique. If they can hit their distance wedges on average proximity about 15 feet, I will talk to them nothing about their technique. If with their scrambling shots, 40 yards and in, if they can hit it on average proximity wise 6 feet, I won't have a word with them about their technique. And then with putting, speed is almost everything. There's some other elements, but speed is massive. If they can have a dispersion short or long within 10% of their total distance, I will say nothing about their technique. That's functional, right? So there's a difference between skills and technique. It's funny, one of the guys, they were joking during the week about this whole swing your swing thing, and they asked for my opinion. Swing your swing is great. It does make, I get the premise, but swing your swing is only appropriate if your swing works, right?
Right. It's got to work, right? It's got to do the job.
If you're not breaking 120, you should probably go pay somebody to help fix your swing, right? But I'm working with that kind of level to where they've gone through high school, they've won junior tournaments, they're in college, maybe they've won a little bit or had some success. They can play. It's the other stuff at my level to where I need to clean up. They can do all of this, that we can set up the flight scope launch monitors, and then we can look at it on 2-dimensional video. We can do all of that stuff, and they check all of those, but it looks beautiful, right? But there's intangible skills there that you have to dig deeper. And I think that applies to recreational golfers too, is recognizing skills versus technique.
And I hear that, and there's San Antonio golfers, and I know one of my buddies, Robert, posted something today in regards to taking instruction off of somebody who may be a high handicapper, right? And before I continue, I got Ray Garza right here from Honor Park Golf, great inside coach.
I need to talk to Ray. I didn't like that commercial because I remember Ray used to take tons and tons of money off me in money games.
Hey, he's a stud, man. He's a stud.
I need to talk to Ray. That's not okay.
Well, I had Matt Janella on the show from formerly of the Golf Channel, right? And I got to play around with him and Ashworth, right? Him and John Ashworth out at Goat Park there in Oceanside. Yep. And I remember Ray Garza took some money from right there. Cha-ching right there. He took some money from their skins game out of Old Breck. And but I think you're not the only one that has these stories about Ray. All right. So back to my question right here. My good buddy Mike Osman right here. He's got eyeballs on this question that we talked about. One of the questions was, can you take instruction from somebody who is a high handicapper? And I guess, especially when you are dealing with young adults, is it something that, instantly, did they give you kind of like that respect, or just I know you said it was a little different where they call you Thomas and they don't call you coach, but I guess was there any of those walls that had to be broken down, or you had to show them your resume or anything like that in order to get maybe hey, I deserve to be in the building, I deserve to be here?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that question's best served for them, but I didn't. I knew there was going to be I was patient with it. I knew there was going to be, and we honestly might still be in that period. I'm not sure, but there's going to be a period where I do need to earn that respect. And I'm certainly completely fine being patient with that. I can't speak to, if I have earned that respect, whether it was playing career, teaching career, success, college, elsewhere. I don't know, but if I immediately got respect from them, I would actually be a little concerned about that, because they ought to screen me. They ought to figure out who on earth this guy is, right? And hopefully day by day, I'm gaining that respect. But I certainly didn't have any expectations of they need to be listening to me by, whenever. It's just, I just try and help, and if at some point they want to listen and I get that respect, then great, right?
Well, Coach, all right. So why don't you get into a few stories here? Maybe what's one of maybe your best successes, or give us a success that you had at St. Mary's, and then give us we want to hear a little heartbreak too.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, you have more losses than you do wins, right?
Especially in the game of golf.
Or you learn more, right? You learn more than you win, right?
in typical fashion, I'm probably going to answer that question by not really answering it. But the things that come to mind are sort of human experiences, not necessarily the, we won this or won that. And there has been quite a bit of that where I was able to watch St. Mary's. I think it was 31 wins in my time there, but I don't think I would pick any of them. It would, and I know this is not answering your question, but it would just be moments of learning and moments of growth and moments of just massive development where I could see, maybe this time last year we wouldn't have done this, or this time last, whenever, like clear growth. Those are the wins for me. It's not those material pieces of glass or whatever. That doesn't do it for me. It's getting, like I said earlier, it's like that front row seat of, I see it. You're getting better, and this is really exciting, right? And one thing comes to mind is the girls are very fortunate to be able to go to the Final Four at St. Mary's a few years ago, and maybe this is actually a reference to the heartache story too. But played the semifinals, and they played absolutely incredible and ended up tying. And there was a bunch of tiebreak rules, and ultimately they lost the tiebreak rule without us going back on the course, and there was some controversy with that. We won't approach that, and hopefully none of them are listening, because that was a very sore moment for them. But so there was that. But so we were out. We weren't able to come back and play the final for the championship the next day, and so we had to book the flight home, and I had to take them to dinner, and so we went to dinner, and there was a ton of tears, and it was a real sad moment for all of them. And but I saw a moment, and one or two just started speaking up, and I was saying no words because I couldn't say anything at that moment.
What do you? And I agree with you there, because trophies, banners, they all collect dust. They all collect dust.
Right.
And you're right. Yeah, I'm over here like, man, I'm jotting stuff down over here, because again, like as a coach, like maybe my viewership or whatever don't understand, but I understand exactly what you're saying. It's always about those moments, right? And I'm sure you could put yourself right back at that table, at the dinner table, right? I'm sure you could.
And that's what I'm saying. It is that moment they taught me, because I was hiding the tears. I was trying to be a real tough guy, and it probably wasn't working very well. And I've got to be tough for them. But then they started having some beautiful conversations at the dinner table, and it was just a reflective moment of, look what we did this year. Look at what we did and how we did it, and the memories and all of the hurdles we overcame, and it turned the whole conversation towards, we won, and nobody's going to tell us that we didn't win. And it was absolutely beautiful. So I was able to just sit back and just watch real grown up women just say and do amazing things. And it was honestly one of the proudest moments that I'd had. And it was after a loss, right? But I don't think they lost. I think they won. I think they won royally, because they were amazing human beings in that moment. Another moment, it's another human moment, but we, as coaches, we know that it's not always utopia, and we have challenges from time to time. And there was a period where we had a player that was struggling in life, and perhaps making some poor decisions. So we had to kind of live through that and help each other through that together. And it was a real struggle. And I think we got through that moment, and that particular player happened to play in a national championship towards the end of their career. And
wow.
And we, during that moment of struggle, he and I we weren't buddy, because it was a rough time for us both. And we were trying to navigate through these tough periods, and poor decisions were being made and all that stuff. And then graduated, all of that stuff. And about 3 years later, I got a little handwritten note in the mail, and I was bawling reading it. And some of the things that were said in that little note were incredibly personal and genuine. And that was another moment where I thought, oof, he's grown up, and that was cool. So that's my wins. It's nothing about those material trophies, and those are the things that will stick with me. And I'm seeing it every day with the guys. I saw it today. I mean, that's why I do what I do, because I can see those little small wins every single day, and I can put those in my pocket and go home and think that was cool. I perhaps did good today, right? That's the wins. That's the memories.
Man, that's like I said, Coach. Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to play for you, Coach. All right, just let me know, man. Hey, I got 1 year of eligibility left. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I think I'm lacking a couple of credits. All right, a couple of rhythmical and dance PE kinesiology credits.
We can make it work. We'll make it happen.
All right, Coach, let's get into some fun stuff. All right, so you kind of said off air that I asked you about rivals, right? Being in the Southland Conference, and you said you're more worried and more concerned about your team, and I love that, because you always have to make it about you before anybody else, right? Mm-hmm. And you spoke that if you were talking about football or soccer back home, what is maybe like some of the rivalries you got going on back home? And that's
I'm not sure where you are with soccer, my football, but I'm a Liverpool fan.
Okay. I'm familiar a little bit.
I have been for 35 plus years, and I am a completely different human when I'm watching football, and it's very odd. I'm usually very patient, quite stoic with work, and even at home with my family. But yeah, when I start watching games, I absolutely lose my mind. And it's sports, right? You emotions with sports just take you to places, but it's unexplainable.
We'll see. It's a little bit different for Europeans, right? And when I say y'all Europeans, because I mean y'all are all so close. Every country's so close there in Europe, and these are like just. These soccer stadiums are like in neighborhoods, right? I mean, these are like. I mean, there's family rivalries over football, right? Over these football teams, and so I love to hear that stuff, and I guess as being a fanatic and being a fan, I guess fan comes from the word fanatic, right? Mm-hmm. And it just so it kind of takes you out of character, you would say?
Absolutely, 100%. My wife and my daughter can't even watch with me. They are in the other room.
I love it. Yes,
I'm screaming at the TV, and they're good with me. They let me do my thing for a couple of hours, and then Dad's back, and whatever. But it's interesting.
Right here, Scott Williams, the Beast is released. Now, this attitude, does that ever make it out there on the golf course when you've coached or when you played?
Never has. No, I and what's interesting, I spoke to my wife about this. So my team, very fortunately, we've been incredibly successful. Obviously, I'm going to say that, right? But we've done well. But I don't know if I actually enjoy the game, because the emotions are so out of whack. The anticipation even before the game is just torture. So, but I can't switch it off. So sports fans are nuts. We're just stupid. I don't get it, but I can't switch it off. I can't.
Well, that's that, and that brings us let's get into some fun stuff here. I know Briggs is y'all's home course, but what is I got my dogs. My wife's getting home right now, so I'm trying to kind of navigate the on and off of my dang dogs. Right, I told my wife going through the back. What has been maybe a course of that you like that's outside of your home facilities here in San Antonio?
I mean, ones that come to, we have to say BRAC being here in San Antonio,
Got
right?
you, man. It's
Old BRAC
gorgeous.
is the one, right? But certainly I've got an affection for Oak Hills. When I played professionally, I was a member out there, and another Tillinghast design. I mean, I always felt like you could use every single club in the bag on any given day. You can be in the fairway and have no shot to the green. I mean, you have to play out there, and I've always got a close affection for Oak Hills. But I mean, we're spoiled here in town. We have I think Andrew at the Alamo City Golf Trail does a great job, and we're very lucky to have the city courses that we do, and all of our country clubs, and I think we're very fortunate here in town. And obviously we can't neglect TPC, which is a special place as well. So, but yeah, I think BRAC and Oak Hills are pretty cool.
I agree. I think, and I'm sure growing up in Ireland, and growing up on that little on your home course, you feel the ghost, right? You feel the ghost of the game back home, right? And I'm sure you feel the ghost of BRAC, right? The old, that is the home of golf. Like there was some, a Tillinghast design. I took a deep dive into some Tillinghast designs in regards to Oak Hills and BRAC. And then I know that there's still some Tillinghast design courses, design holes out at Fort Sam. And so I'm always out there, and I'm like, which ones? The pro shop manager, Robert Vasquez, knows, but he won't tell me.
Tillinghast knew what he was doing. That's for sure.
Right here, Ray Garza, right here. Great coaching. Keep up the great work, Thomas. Much respect. Ray Garza.
I need to get my game back so I can challenge Ray again.
I don't know. He's a grinder. Every time I talk to him, there's several things he's doing, and I hope he's listening. He's either going out of town, he's playing golf, or he's eating, right? Like, so I know, like, and I said, you know what, Ray, I want to do all three of those things with you. And for the most part, when I make my way out there, he gives me some golf instruction, and after he's kind of broken down my game, broke my heart, he lifts me back up by taking me out there to his grill, Rock and G Grill. So one of the best dudes out there, and like we spoke about in instruction, is I think it's always about how you relay that information, right? And I think I think Ray Garza, there's so many, there's a lot of good golfers, because everybody's always asking, who's the best one, and I think it's always about, just like you said with your guys and with your team, everybody's different. This Gen Z, or for the younger player, that younger athlete, they want that info now. They want everything now. And then you got that older guy that maybe doesn't need everything now, that can maybe do a couple of drills. And one point you made out to me, Coach, is that you kind of do everything. You're not here with your team, and y'all are on the same level. I had a great meeting today with I don't know if you're familiar with the guys, Mike and Jeff Young from Mach 3. The swing speed, the swing speed gurus. And they spoke about how big they are in Japan, and how they said Japan is so different because their team is like all on the same level. Even like their supervisors or whatever, they don't look and view themselves one over the other. And he says that's why they're able to get so much done and so much completed. And so when I hear you say that, I'm like, man, maybe this is why you've been successful. This is maybe why people are drinking the Kool-Aid. You're drinking the Coach Thomas Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And so,
I mean, in my world, I'd like to think that, I've done some good things, and I have some knowledge and some things that I can impart in terms of guidance and whatnot, but they have to dictate it to me. And I don't want to throw my language or my blueprint or whatever it may be at them to deter any creativity that they may have, right? And so if I allow them to have a voice, and then we can bounce things off each other, who knows where it will go, right? I believe in my framework, but that's a core, right? Those are the foundations. I want to add that to whatever DNA and whatever they're bringing to the mix, and then it's it's limitless, in my opinion. I allow them to just put the foot on the floor and just go, versus me really putting them in shackles.
Letting your horses run, right? Letting your horses run.
That's right.
All right, Coach. Favorite PGA player out there?
Yeah, I probably won't answer all of them. Obviously I tried. I tried to be a player, so
you gotta say Rory. I mean, come on, isn't he your guy? I mean, isn't he one of your guys? He's got to
beat me
be.
too much when I was younger, so I'm not so sure about that. But I have so much admiration for all of them because I had my little taste of it, and I just appreciate what they do, even all the way to from the top Scheffler all the way down to the guys struggling for their tour card every year. I have so much admiration for what they do because I do recognize how hard that is and how challenging it is, and so all of them. I appreciate all of them, and their differentness, right? The tour is so diverse. Well, I guess we should say multiple tours.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say there you go.
But they're all incredibly impressive, and it's cool to watch. So we're very lucky to live in this generation too, because there's a whole lot of good golfers out there.
You are not lying. Hence the rollback. I mean, hence they got to do something, right? They got to do something. All right, Coach. Do you have any superstitions as a coach? You got to keep some chapstick in your left pocket, or you got to keep 2 T's or whatever. And as a player, did you have any of those?
Oh, all of the above, every single day. But I would like to not call them superstitions. I would like to call them healthy habits. Are we allowed to do that?
I like that.
Yeah. No, I've never been diagnosed, but I'm probably sure a doctor would like to say that I'm OCD. But I think it's healthy. I cannot leave here after this show without putting some things in the office and in certain places and heading home, and I won't be able to get in the car until that is the way. And absolutely, I have things for everything. Yeah, you probably don't want to know.
Give us one. You got to give us one.
It starts every morning. My alarm clock goes at 6:13.
That's it on the dot.
It has to go at 6:13. Why? I don't know, but it has to. So that's the start of my day. So it just
keeps going from there. Right here, I got a question right here. Paul Sharp, Coach, do you cheer? Who do you cheer? I guess maybe he's asking who do you cheer for or during the Ryder Cup? I guess do you cheer during the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, for sure, the Europeans. But I'm not sure if he's referencing the soccer, nuts that I go.
Oh, he's just asking who do you cheer for during the Ryder Cup?
Not as passionate.
Not as passionate?
No, not at all. I just admire the golf that they play. For some strange reason, they show up with a whole different game during the Ryder Cup, and it's incredible to watch. I mean, they take it personal, Coach. They take it personal. They're incredible, but then at the Ryder Cup, it's just
right. It's just and it kind of as an American, it's so tough. Like we love this stuff here. I mean, I got me and my buddies. I mean, I was in Colorado. I just so happened to be in Colorado during this past year's Ryder Cup. And so I'm over there. Like my wife is, hey, turn off the freaking alarm, because I'm trying to watch it, at certain hours. Right. And, I got all my buddies back home. They're texting me and, oh, I can't believe this and that. Or what are these guys doing? What's wrong with Zach Johnson? And Luke Donald's out coaching him. I mean, we're treating it like, watching the Dallas Cowboys over here. It's a big deal right here.
It's a big deal.
Coach, my last question for you. Who are you playing your final round of golf with?
Oh. A foursome? Is that what we're saying?
It's your call.
I think we have to put Tiger there. Oh, goodness. Wow. You may have stumped me. Tiger. This is a real curveball because she doesn't really play, but I'd actually throw my wife in there because I that would be a fun experience for her to enjoy it too. My goodness.
I got you.
Maybe a 3-ball. Where the speed of play is going to be good. It's a 3-ball.
The pace of play is going to be great. It's going to be great.
I'm always thinking about pace of play.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for being on, Coach. If you wouldn't mind just kind of sticking around so I can kind of close out things with you as I thank my sponsors and supporters. And hey, guys, make sure, Coach, good luck to you next week as you kind of kick off your season. And we hope to hear. I'm going to keep track. I'm going to keep everybody track of how your team's doing. And I wish y'all nothing but success and health. And you get after it out there, Coach.
Thank you so much. This has been a thrill, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I really want to thank Coach for being on, man. He was awesome sharing his stories as a coach, man. I'm telling you, I'm licking my chops over here because you can tell that he loves what he's doing. His kids have truly benefited, and I wish Coach and the men's golf team, the University of Incarnate Ward here in San Antonio, Texas Cardinals, I wish them nothing but success this upcoming season right here. Want to thank my presenting sponsor, FOREBROS Tour. Never golf alone again. Make sure you hit us up on Unknown Golf and hit us up out there on Facebook. We have all different types of games. We got skins, we got net, gross, keen of the par 3. We have our Thirsty Thursdays coming up. 9 holes out there at Silverhorn Golf Club. For $25, 9 holes, green fee, you cannot beat that deal. And also right here, I'd like to really thank I really want to thank my gold sponsor right here, Brad Ishins with Metal Stacks. Make sure you hit up my boy Brad at Metal Stacks, Precious Metals Collectors Club right there. He can help you out. Make sure you reach out to him at 210-274-5894. I'm so thankful for his relationship with the podcast, their sponsorship. They're my bros. And they will not do you wrong right there. All right, guys. Remember, in the game of life, nothing is OB.